welcome to all of you joining. So in some places it's evening, some places it's night, some places it's the sun is up. It's 10 a.m. in California. Thank you for joining us again on a Saturday. Today we're going to be talking about what we call mobility or motility, a physical a movement, exercise. It covers the whole concept of physical well-being. So we're going to be exploring that and talking about it in the context. But before I do that, let's just look again at our COVID-19 dashboard. Very interesting numbers. It's like the red dots are focusing mostly on the East Coast with some big red dots on the West Coast. For some reason, we seem to have forgotten that coronavirus is still around. Our attention was totally focused on that. There was the lockdown, but you know, human beings being who we are, we get tired of it and we move on. And that is typically what happens. But it is important that the underlying messages around being healthy persists and that the virus persists. And therefore it is important that you follow the instructions that we have persistently given about building your immune system. Again, let's just take a step back. What is your immune system? Your immune system provides an offensive and defensive strategy for human survival. Humans have been on Earth for a long time, and they came with an adaptive and an innate immune system. That immune system is really critical. It's at the front lines of allowing us to survive in a very hostile environment. For example, I was listening to a tape yesterday, and the guy was telling me that it was on YouTube, and he was talking about the fact that we have about 31 trillion bacteria in our body. Yet we survive in alignment with that underlying invasion in our body because we've built cooperative strategies for how we survive with that amount of viruses and bacteria in our body. Also, we live in a lot of toxicity in the environment. Also, very importantly, every day more than 40 million cells in our body are mutating, yet we don't get cancer. So it is a wonder, and it is really an admiration for us to think deeply about our immune system, how it is always in the offense and defense in ensuring that we survive. So again, let's just take a step back and remind the things that are critical for your immune system in terms of nutrients, right? Your vitamin C, your vitamin D, your vitamin E, your zinc, your selenium, your magnesium, and all the other things that are necessary, what we call micronutrients, that are critical for optimal immune function. But we're also talking about something today that's critical for optimal immune function, and that is your physical well-being. And so we're going to spend some time talking about the physical well-being. And when we talk about physical well-being, it's not just about exercise. Let's explore some of the things. It's about stability. We are looking at the musculoskeletal structure, which is your bone tissue, connective tissue, muscle, and all of that, and how it just keeps you upright. So stability is a very important issue. Flexibility is critical. Mobility, the ability to move, freedom from pain, a big issue when it comes to our physical well-being. Strength, muscle mass, bone density, anaerobic and aerobic. What is anaerobic? When we don't require oxygen to produce energy. Aerobic is where you require oxygen. So all of those things are very, very important part of that overall physical well-being. What is the alternative? Because our body has very, very clear signals to talk to us when we don't have physical well-being. And the big one is pain. When our body is not in good shape, we get very powerful signals around pain. And pain is very, very important as an indicator that something is wrong, right? And so we're going to start today by looking at what we call, pay attention guys, we're going to look at what we're calling our overall physical well-being model and architecture. So there are a couple of areas of movement, and we're going to look across that from what we call a maturity model. How you start and how you build what we call mastery in the overall model. So let's look at the first one, movement. It's very critical. We have to move. And as you know, most recommendations will talk about that you spend about 30 to 45 minutes every day exercise. But when they talk about exercise, they don't really tell you what to do, right? They start you with the basic minimum, which is walking, right? Walking and fast walking is really the fundamentals to start. Then you move from what we call walking to running, right? Whether it's a jog, right? You begin to really test, because in moving, it's one of the big solutions for insulin resistance. We spoke about that last week. Why? Because the insulin and the glucose that's being pushed into the bloodstream is used up by the muscle tissue in movement. So most people who don't exercise then get insulin resistance because the sugar in the blood is not being utilized. That is why movement is a critical part for us being healthy, right? Not just keeping the muscles healthy, but also it keeps our pancreas, it keeps the blood sugar lower because the muscles are working and they're using the sugar. And as the muscles get optimized, so their use of sugar and glucose from the blood increases, right? Keeping it at the right level. That's why if you over-exercise, you get injured. That's a problem also. So you always, as you know, with everything in health, you always have to be in balance. So then you move into running, right? Running, then you know some people are obsessed about running, and that's why you really need to be careful how much you run, because you also might run into problems where you begin to get injury, right? So it is very important that you manage that whole idea of how you're running, right? And then some people get very competitive. So that was just walking. That was movement. So let's talk about strength, right? Movement is different from strength, right? And this is the big challenge. And I've put some supplements here I'm going to be talking about, right? Strength comes from muscle, connective tissue, right? The ability to generate strength comes from repetitive movement. So let's look at the kinds of things that give you strength. Weights. You got to do weights. Repetitive weights. And you can start with very small dumbbells, and then you begin to move to stronger weights so you can build strength, right? Strength is really critical because it allows you to have the ability for the other things we're going to talk about, like endurance and stamina. Strength is necessary in life. Even to lift your ass off the chair, right? You need strength. To stand, right? I'm going to be standing here for the next 1 hour. You need strength to do that. And so it's very important that you do the things that are going to give you strength, which are weights, right? You go to medium weights, and then you start deadlifting and go into competitive weights. So weights are very important because it's static and it builds strength. So let's look at endurance and stamina, right? The last time I was talking about running from the tiger, right? Most people, right? And I just want to go back to something that I've spoken about a lot, right? That all the things that we are doing in the way are to build two things, right? Physiological resilience, and 2, metabolic reserve. Those are the 2 most important things in life. So all of the work that we do, all of the things that we talk about, in chronic illness, in anti-aging and anti-fragility has to do with two fundamental things. Physiological resilience. What is physiological resilience? Our ability to react, respond in the moment. Having all the resources required for that. The emotion, the physical, the mind, and everything being present for that action, right? And then metabolic reserve is required for what is required to sustain us when there's a sustained demand for energy and for performance. So it's very important that we have that ability to build metabolic reserve. If you have no reserve, it's like I'm one of those scary drivers. I drive on empty tank, right, until I find a station that I love, which is Shell. I don't like other gas stations, right? So if I don't find a Shell station, I ignore them because they have dirty gas. So Shell is my favorite station, and sometimes I'll barely get to the station to get gas. But you know, that's not good. You need reserves, right? Most other people always run on a quarter tank. Once it gets to a quarter, they have to fill it, right? So it depends how you look at life. But life requires that we always have a reserve, right? What if you run on empty and you get to that gas station and there's no gas? Then you're screwed, right? So it's very important that you have metabolic reserve. You know, people ask me all the time, why should I exercise? Why should I take supplements? Two reasons. You always need to remember there are two reasons why you should do those things. Number one, so that you have the physiological resilience to be alive. Number two, you build a metabolic reserve for when you're going to need it. Right? Remember, whenever you're sick and you're in hospital and you don't want to eat, the body is using the reserves. And so if you don't have enough reserves, you die. So it's always good you have enough reserves. So for the time when the body is going to need that, the reserves are there to support it. Okay, very, very important. So when we talk about endurance and stamina, those are very important things as they pertain to our metabolic reserve. Because if you're running against the lion, right, after the first 100 meters, my daughter Karen is going to be crashing, but then the others are going to persist, and so who is the lion going to eat? I can't even think about it. But the lion might say, well, the meat is not sweet enough. Let me run for that for Pauline or somebody else, right? Let me get a taste of some better meat. But we don't know what the lion is going to do. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the lion's choices are going to be, but for those of us who are going to have enough metabolic reserve, we are going to be further ahead watching with binoculars what the lion is doing, right? And then we'll call the police. We'll call 911. A lion is eating my daughter, right? Because we're all cowards. That actually I would step in and take that lion on, right? If you have the endurance and the stamina, right? So for endurance and stamina, you need what we call high intensity training, right? And that's why I play tennis. It gives you the movement, high intensity running, stopping, right? So you need that. A friend of mine who's in Kuala Lumpur, he posts on Facebook, Manuel Frenat, if you're watching, hi. He does really high intensive training, right? He puts a chair and he jumps up and down that chair for like 40, 50 times. That takes a lot of training, and it's it's tough building stamina and endurance. It's a tough guy, and he does some really high intensive training. So swimming and tennis is good. That's if you do it really quick. And so high intensive training is really required for stamina and for endurance. Why do we need this? Life requires endurance. And if you don't have it, then you'll be crying in front of the lion, begging the lion. So let's go to the next one, which is stretching and balance. You know, stretching and balance are very important exercises for all of us because of stress and just dysfunction. We all get tight. And muscles that are tight do not use glucose and the sugar out of the blood very well. So you need to give the body flexibilities and remove those pockets of tightness or pain so that energy can flow throughout the body very well. And that's why yoga, for example, and Pilates are very good exercises, because during the stretching, you're also breathing and the body is releasing the bad energy or the bad toxins, right? Yoga is also good for releasing toxins. That's why after yoga, you want to pee, right? You pee out all the toxins that have accumulated through our lymphatic system, right? One of the ways to lose fat is massaging the lymphatic system, which is our drainage system in the body that is actually stretched and caught during balance, right? Then cross crawl is the ability to reach across our bodies, whether it's our legs, that ability to reach across or to balance, right? That ability to actually have reach. It's a very important motion, because that's why if you watch us trying to teach robots to do these cross movements, you find out that it's very, very challenging to actually achieve that. So as we look across all of this, I'm going to talk to you now about a couple of products, and then we're going to look at some of this stuff. So our most important product is our soft tissue support pack. A very, very important. It's specially formulated for connective tissue support, comfort. So for those of us who are growing older, this is a very, very important supplement. It contains most of the things that you would think it contains, so you can go on our site and check it out. But it's really for your musculoskeletal health, and this is a month supply for that. So people who are having connective tissue, joint pain, and things like that, it's a very important supplement. We have another one here, it's Collagenics. It's support for connective tissue and collagen. So we have a couple of collagen products here. We have another collagen product here. We have another whole body collagen. Collagen is one of the most important products for helping with our tissue, especially connective tissue. You know that white tissue, when you eat fur, you can see that. So people love the brisket and the white tissue. That's very, right? In cultures where we eat the chicken bone, I used to love that collagen pad. It crackles as you bite that stuff. It's beautiful stuff, right? It's in bone tissue. So let's look at some other supplements. So we have MitoQ. That's to support joint mobility and comfort. A very important supplement. And then we have the Bone Builder for people who are having issues with bone density and bone strength, because as you know that as our hormones are shrinking as we mature, the bone architecture and the deposition of calcium in bone tissue begins to reduce, and so we have bone porosity, which is that the bone tissue is not as deeply connected as it should be. So our Osteoprev and our extra strength glucosamine complex are very important supplements for joint and body health, the Osteoprev and the Flex ES. This one is liquid and these are capsules, so all very important aspects of that. And here we have some of the proteins and the fats that are also critical as good pure ways of you getting pure fat and good protein for supporting the overall exercise. We have a supplement here. It's called Exogenous Ketones. I use this during tennis or exercise so that when I'm exercising, I can put myself in ketosis. I just put half of that in the drink, and that forces your body to go into burning fat. It's a way of pushing the body into ketosis when you're exercising. And then that means that it optimizes your ability to burn fat. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to do this questionnaire that we have loaded up on site. It's on the Facebook page. I'm going to give you copies here. I don't think I have enough, if you can share that. So we're just going to do only the one that does, that's focused on physical well-being. So let's look at the first page. We look at physical well-being. So let's answer a couple of those questions. These questionnaires normally are in the blue section, which is the good section, the red section, which is the section that causes problems, right? So do you watch TV or work on your computer tablet less than 2 hours per day? Your answer should be yes. If it is no, you're in trouble. Do you get outside most days of the week for at least 10 minutes? Your answer should, Pauline, be yes, right? Because you need fresh air. And there's more coronavirus inside your house than outside, right? Coronavirus is not floating outside looking for you. It's actually from your neighbors sneezing across the fence, right? Or from upstairs. That's why lots of people in New York died in their apartments, because the virus was just flowing in the circulatory system, right? Do you participate in physical active hobbies such as gardening or dancing? And then if your answer is no, then that is really bad. So you need to start doing some dancing, some salsa dancing. It's going to give you balance, because then you can be spinning and really moving yourself. So that's why you find out that when you go to retirement homes, there's a lot of dancing. Dancing is a pleasurable way of exercising. And also it gives you balance. It addresses a lot of these things: movement, strength, endurance. You know, some of those women in those old people's home can dance for 5 hours a night, which is very good. They have the stamina, right? Gives them balance, because to be able to spin and turn and stay in the movement, it's very good. And then, you know, the husbands are spinning them around, and, you know, that's why women love to dance. So if you don't like exercise, go take dancing classes. Then you would love to exercise. So it's a very important thing to do. Do you participate in a formal exercise program? Well, most of us do not. Your answer should be yes. It's very important that you participate in a formal exercise class. Do you perform easy stretching and balancing exercises? Very important. Do you perform exercises that elevate your heart rate? That's what we call high intensity training, right? Things that are going to move your heart rate. These days, the sun is getting really hot. Even at 4:30 p.m., I want to play tennis. It's hot, brutally hot. So 10 minutes of hitting 100 balls, and I'm already in deep shock. My heart rate is racing, and I start getting worried whether I might have a heart attack.
Oh my goodness.
So I stop myself, right? Don't put yourself to the edge. Okay, now let's look. Let's look at those people who have problems already. Do you regularly have muscle or joint pain? If your answer is yes, you can see already you're in the red zone. Your answer should be no. So if you answer yes, you should be taking our soft tissue pack from the man who came all the way from heaven. This packet is for you, right? Or you take the bone builder or some of the other things we have there. Do you take prescribed or over-the-counter medication on a regular basis for joint or muscular pain? I know if your answer is yes, you are in our book. You should come visit our clinic. Have you had surgery for any musculoskeletal conditions such as knee, shoulder, and back pain? Right? It's very, very important. Have you been diagnosed with arthritis, chronic fatigue syndrome, or fibromyalgia? Do you exercise less than 3 times or more than 5 times per week? You see, exercise more than 3 times, but less than 5 times, because it's a very important that the body is giving time to recover. A lot of people don't understand the recovery. Recovery is as important as exercising. So just because if you do it too much, the body does not like too much exercise. So the body always needs 1 or 2 days for rest. So it's very important. That's why they recommend 5 times, but not more, but more than 3 times. Is that making sense? So typically we would look at your overall score, we'll count it, and then we should be able to give you a recommendation. But I cannot do that today. I want to go to this next handout. So we're going to look at physical well-being. So let's talk about physical well-being. The idea of movement as medicine summarizes the findings of numerous research studies that showcase the power of moving your body. Moving your body is very important. There is no excuse for it. Movement, everything from low-impact aerobics to interval training, which I just said, HIT, high interval training. Every time you see HIT, know that we're talking about interval training. And what's interval training? It's high intensity training. And you do that in short spurts. And you can do that even with running. You run fast and then you slow down. You run fast and then you slow down. So you can do HIT with a lot of different activities, right? It's very important. So low impact aerobics is what? Like yoga, like rowing, like the things that are really low impact, like swimming is low impact. You're exercising, but there's not a lot of impact. What do we mean by impact? That we are not jamming our body against the ground, right? When you're running, when I'm playing tennis, I'm hitting and constraining, I create a lot of impact. So there's low impact, and then there's interval training. Very important, can prevent some diseases, ease the symptoms of others, and even reverse some chronic conditions. So if you're diabetic and you exercise, it actually improves your condition. Why? Because it is pulling glucose out of the bloodstream into the muscle tissue that's using it up. Very important. So it's not a choice for most of us. If you like sugar, you must exercise. The benefits of daily exercise are numerous and are well documented, yet do not demand Herculean efforts to achieve them, right? Most people are just lazy, right? They can't even get off their couch, right? Because most exercises can actually be done in front of your couch, watching TV, right? All you need to do is to put on one of the channels, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's a CD of one of the channels that's showing a lot of free stuff that you could actually do yourself. In most cases, even small increments of activity are shown to have positive effects. Small steps towards a more active lifestyle transform into major health gains over time. Again, what do I say? It's about action, repetitive action, becoming a habit. The only way you develop exercise as a habit is to start exercising. And the more you do it and it becomes a habit, then you see the big benefits. So let's look at the physiological benefits, effects of exercise. Physiological effects of exercise. And what did I say about exercise? Building physiological resilience and metabolic reserve. So when we say physiological effects of exercise, we actually mean the physiological resilience and the metabolic reserve. Number one, brain. If you don't exercise, you become a dull boy. You become stupid and lazy, right? It reduces your stress, it elevates your mood, and it improves your sleep. Very, very important, right? So when you say, I am bored, go exercise. Number two, hormones. It improves insulin resistance. That's what I've been talking about. Because it reduces sugar in the blood, and therefore the demand for insulin goes down, right? Insulin is released because there's too much sugar in the blood, and then we develop insulin resistance because the pancreas is overworking to produce insulin. It also releases endorphins, those things that make us happy and reduce stress, and it supports hormone regulation. To our heart, it reduces risk of heart disease, it improves blood pressure and improves blood flow, right? Circulation. Muscles, it improves strength, improves balance, increases agility, right? Energy, it improves breathing, especially yoga, which is one of the things I think you guys are going to you normally do after this class. One of the big advantages of yoga is breathing, and because most people don't breathe, when we do them on the Menla scan, they breathe like lizards. Right? If you breathe like a lizard, you have a problem. If you're breathing more than 20 breaths per minute, you're breathing like a lizard. You need to breathe about 10 to 12 breaths a minute. Slow, take deep intake, hold, so your body can extract the oxygen, expel all of it, hold. Also, you're training your muscles. Your lungs is expanding and contracting. Expanding and contracting. Then your blood will be like mine, very red and rich, right? So that even the mosquitoes can tell the difference. And they come for your blood and it's all dark and murky. And they think disgusting. So yeah, it improves breathing, it improves immunity, and it reduces fatigue. Connective tissue is strengthened tendons, increases flexibility, and increases bone density, right? So those are very important things. And overall general health, it improves your digestion, overall metabolism, it improves your appetite, and it makes you feel good, right? Too much exercise, however, can be detrimental to the body. Physiological changes from excessive exercise include increased stress hormone production. So typically when we measure tennis players, we find out that they have increased levels of inflammation, which comes from a lot of exercise. And where does that come? It comes from the breakdown of tissue. They also have increased stress hormone production, decreased testosterone production, depression, elevated resting heart rate, mood alteration, poor sleep, and altered digestion. It is important to work with your clinician to determine the best exercise schedule for you and stick with them. That's why we create this maturity model, that you start easily, you need variety, so you keep exercise interesting, so that you do the couple of exercises that are going to be good for you, and you build up slowly, so that over time you have the capacity for doing all the things that are important for you to do, okay? So there are certain recommendations. Diet, you eat a plant-based diet with fruit, healthy fats, and good proteins. Use inflammation-reducing herbs such as turmeric. We have that supplement, it's called Turiva. Eat slowly and chew your food thoroughly. Eat slowly. That's one of my biggest challenges, to remind myself. I eat as if I'm in a hurry, but it's important to eat slowly and actually chew your food thoroughly. Why? Because it's going to help with overall digestion, so you don't get constipation or diarrhea. Because the more you chew your food, then the easier the digestion and absorption process is going to be. Exercise. Start slowly with 5 to 15 minutes of walking and increase as you feel able, right? Wear appropriate clothing and footwear and exercise in safe environments, right? Sometimes this is the challenge I have. I remember I used to exercise, and sometimes when I go walking with Dr. Yi, I make comments about that. If you're walking in the evening and you wear shorts, you're stupid. And if you're running at night with headphones on, you're stupid. It's very important that if you're exercising that you're safe. Don't be stupid. Why should you wear long trousers and long sleeve when you're walking, right? Because of insect bites, because of snakes, because of different things that could bite, and you wear proper shoes. Don't be stupid. Feeling hot is part of life. So deal with it. So if you want to take off your top and walk in the forest, you pay the price. It's stupid, right? And so a lot of stupid people, and they think that, oh yes, I'm fine, the weather is fine, I can just take off my shirt, wear my short sleeve and walk in the forest. No, it's very dangerous. You're gonna get, Lyme disease. All it takes is one tick, one bite, and you could be sick for 10 years. So you don't be stupid. That's why it says here that you should exercise and be very appropriate, right? So you need to vary the program so you don't get bored, right? For some people, I love tennis. That's why I do tennis, and I try to do some other things. But tennis and swimming are some of the best exercises, including dancing, because it incorporates everything. But if you don't do those things, then you need to create some variety so you don't get bored, right? And then it also helps with reducing stress, right? And your sleep, and then the other things you do. So these are the nutrient recommendations. So there are 4 areas of nutrients. People are always asking me, Charles, why do you take so many supplements, right? In all the things that we have to do, our physical well-being is the most important. Why? Because I don't like pain. So number 1, you take things to reduce inflammation. What are they? When I'm teaching my staff, most times they don't pay attention. Because why? They think they're actually smart. You cannot smart if your brain is empty. You're only smart when there's content in the brain. And that's content that comes from a source. That is not your emotions, right? So let's look at inflammation. Turmeric helps reduce overall inflammation, or curcumin. Now let's look at the next one, muscle and nervous support. I know some people are wondering, what has nerves got to do with muscle? And think about it, most of our nerves are locked into the muscle architecture, right? That's how they are protected, deep in the muscle tissue. If they're not protected in there, then we will just be like nervous wrecks. So the nerves are buried deep in muscle tissue for protection, okay? Because they're very delicate and they really have to be protected. So muscle and nervous support, magnesium decreases muscle spasms. That's why most times when our patient's saying, at night I get cramps, we give them magnesium. Calcium supports healthy nerve function in terms of conduction, the cation conduction, positive ions, negative ions. That's how the nerve transmits information. And vitamin D helps with calcium absorption. That's why we always try and give calcium, vitamin D and vitamin K, and also with calcium to help with that overall absorption. So it helps with proper nerve and muscle function. Then let's look at connective tissue. I know Americans, what is connective tissue? Well, connective tissue is the thing that connects the muscles to the bone. I know, right? If not, your muscles will be hanging, right? And you cannot connect muscle to bone. So you need connective tissue, right? Sometimes we call them tendons, right? So that's a critical component. They're very strong, they're very powerful, and they hold everything in place. That's why when you get a connective tissue injury, it's very challenging injury. Very challenging, right? ACL and things like that. So the amino acids, proteins, are critical. I know some people think, what are amino acids? Amino acids are the broken down molecules of proteins, right? Collagen is an amino acid, right? And then if you look at our ultra mil thing here, if you look at the ultra mil, right, it's a very powerful protein, and you will see that it has all the proteins here that you need, almost 15 grams of protein in this. And then the whey meal also is a grass-fed whey protein, and look at all that beautiful proteins you have here, right, to help you build connective tissue, muscle, and collagen, and the ligaments, right, which are also connective tissue to hold everything together. That combination system is a very important, and so you take amino acids are needed for growth and repair, because the more you exercise, the more you build new tissue and repair the old ones that you injure. Collagen provides raw material for proper healing. That's why if we exercise, we need to take collagen to help with that. Glucosamine sulfate, right? That's the glucosamine complex. Is very, very important for you to help with, it supports joint comfort and movement, so it repairs and strengthens connective tissue. Now let's look at my favorite subject, improving mitochondrial function. Well, you know I talk about this topic all the time. What is mitochondria? Mitochondria. It's the powerhouse of the cell. I know. Pauline is going for the MD PhD program, and she's going to come back and be a clinical director for this clinic. So we are all carrying Pauline on our shoulders, and putting a lot of pressure on Pauline to perform when she goes to Caltech and UCLA or USC to get that program done and become an arrogant doctor, an arrogant MD, right? And then she's going to take over my presentations. She'll say, Charles, you're not qualified. And then I'll say, I have wisdom. Wisdom beats qualifications. Okay, let's talk about my favorite topic, improving mitochondrial function. So multi-B vitamins are needed for the phases of detoxification. Why is detoxification so important? Because it removes all the oxidative outcomes from the cell, what we call oxidative stress, right? So the detox, that's why I do a daily detox. You want to remove that, or you use antioxidants that help in the detox process. NAC, N-acetylcysteine, is needed for glutathione production. So even though I also take glutathione as an antioxidant, you want to take NAC, NAC, it's a precursor. Wow, you know, sometimes I use this very, you know, I studied in England, so my use of the language is very superior. So I use things like precursor. What's a precursor? A precursor is the thing that comes before the thing. So NAC is a precursor for glutamine. That means that the NAC is in the biochemical pathway before glutamine is produced, and glutamine has to be produced and used up immediately. Glutathione. Yeah, sorry, glutathione. Glutamine is another protein for repairing the lining of the gut. So sometimes I confuse myself with glutathione and glutamine. L-glutamine. This one is glutathione. Silmarin supports healthy detoxification, right? So let's look at collagen. Collagen, right? I don't think I have copies of this. You have to download it. So just follow me as we look at this. Collagen is the primary protein fiber found in connective tissue. What's connective tissue? Tendons, ligaments, fascia, cartilage, bones, skin, and that they give that structural stability, right? So connective tissue gives all these things, tendons, ligament, cartilage, all of it, right? Structural stability, locks them into place, right? It's like the cement. During collagen synthesis, amino acids are combined to form polypeptide chains. I know we're in deep biochemistry now. Polypeptide chains are long chains of proteins. The poly means many peptides in the chains, polypeptide chains. These chains are dependent on the cofactors vitamin C and magnesium to form the trihelical structure of the collagen fibril. What are cofactors? Cofactors are like spices that support the production of something. So vitamin C and magnesium are required for creating that collagen structure. So all these women who like to do, they don't want to age and they don't want to have wrinkles, at the core of wrinkle formation is the loss of collagen. Very important. I know this is going to be critical for your understanding. And fibril is the core architecture that really creates that collagen architecture. Lack of raw materials, pay attention, all the anti-aging fans, people who don't want to develop wrinkles. Lack of raw materials. What is the raw material? Collagen, the peptides. Essential cofactors. What were the essential cofactors? Vitamin C and magnesium. And healthy lifestyle factors can lead to a weakened collagen structure. Over time, tissue elasticity and cellular production of type 1 and type 2 collagen and hyaluronic acid decreases. That's why we give injections of hyaluronic acid to rebuild tissue in the joints where there is significant pain. Or some people inject it into their face and lips so they can get black lips like mine. Lips that are full and luscious. Simultaneously, mechanical stress, cytokines, and reactive oxygen species disrupt the process of collagen biosynthesis, resulting in weaker fibers. So look at a strong collagen structure and look at a weakened collagen structure, right? Collagen is like the fiber, right? You know, when we are building cement, we create that steel structure and put the cement around. So collagen provides that framework stability, what we call the structural stability, right? So when we have a weakened collagen structure, we have loose, disorganized, and incomplete collagen fibers. Really, that's at the core of wrinkling. Decreased proteoglycan content, decreased hyaluronic acid content, right? So we can go into that, and we know that in a recent study, enrichment of a cartilage cell culture with a bioactive collagen peptide, like this one, it's a bioactive collagen peptide. That's what it is, a biocollagen peptide, or the whole collagen, right? Research back collagen peptides for bone, joint, and skin. So those are the collagen peptide, the bioactive collagen peptide. So rather than go buy expensive creams for your wrinkles, instead you should be taking bioactive collagen peptides. Led to a dose-dependent increase in type 2 collagen secretion. However, native collagens as well as collagen-free hydrolysate fail to stimulate the production of. These results clearly indicate the stimulatory effect of bioactive collagen peptides on collagen biosynthesis and their key role in the regulation of collagen turnover. That's why people who grow up in the village don't grow old, right? They eat a lot of stock, beef stock, bone stock, that has a lot of collagen peptides. And so if you take that, my grandmother used to use stock all the time to cook, whether it's fish stock, chicken stock, or bone stock. They always had it in storage, and that's the base that she used to make any soup. So that's why you find out that Africans have such glorious skin. Yeah. We eat good collagen stock all the time. All right?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I noticed that race, okay, like African, doesn't age. They don't have wrinkle. I compare to under.
That's why you should come to Africa and get the pure genes. I think it's biological, also because we have melatonin, so the sun impact on the skin is reduced, but also the eating habits genetically from ages is such that we eat a lot of meat and we eat a lot of bone stock. Like in my culture, when we eat chicken, we eat the whole bones. We eat all the bones and we boil the meat. You know, we don't cook the way they cook here where everybody eating only meat. We eat the bones. You use the bones to boil and make the soup because it is really the bone soup that gives the essence of those amino acids and the fats, right? That's why people don't need to take omega 3. They can just get all of that from the bone marrow, right? So bone marrow is a very good source of good fats, or you eat the stock from a bone, right? So that's one way of doing that. But most of our diets have cleared out a lot of the collagen peptides. And so you have to get it from somewhere. And just putting it on the surface is not enough. It has to come from inside so that it's what we call it's bioactive, which is that the body can find it when it needs it, right? Does that make sense? So on the last page, there's a diagram that just looks at healthy fibroblasts, chondrocytes, and synovial cells are critical to the preservation of connective tissue function, regeneration, and stability. And this collagen supplement contains key nutrients that protect and preserve connective tissue synthesis and regeneration. So if you look at the knee, and that's a knee, very, very complex architecture. Just the knee. It's a very complex architecture. And you can see everything that's going on. I know we never think of our knees, but talk to people who've had knee surgery and you understand how complicated the knee is and the challenges that the knee could cause you, right? Because to give us the ability to move, to stand, to bend, and to run, God created this very amazing architecture that is really complicated and very delicate. And so collagen is a very important supplement for us to take to support that. So to summarize and to end our discussion today, physical well-being is really critical to our overall well-being. It's a critical component to our overall well-being. And when we talk about well-being, we normally look at 4 things. We look at environmental well-being, we look at nutritional well-being, we look at emotional well-being, and we look at physical well-being. So all those 4 things is what will give us at the core what we call wellness. And it's very critical that we address each of those things, which we'll be addressing in the next coming weeks. We started today with the physical well-being. Next week, I'll talk about one of the other topics. And so that in the next couple of weeks, by the end of June, we have covered all the topics so that we've addressed June as a wellness month. As a month that we will always remember as the month that we were no longer afraid of coronavirus. Finally, we could get outdoors and look at each other without being afraid. So thank you very much for listening. Were there any questions, comments online?
There was one question about the ketosis, the keystone.
The ketones.
Ketones. Are you supposed to drink it before you work out or after you work out?
During.
So right before you work out?
Yeah, because ketosis, when you drink it before you start exercising, it takes 15 minutes for ketosis to step in. Because what you're doing is that you're asking the mitochondria to start using fat to generate energy rather than carbohydrates,
So could you take
right?
something like that with-
We're still live.
Could you take something like that with a pre-workout?
What's a pre-workout? Some nonsense that you're being sold? Shouldn't take any stupid things. You should take water and your ketosis. That's it. What's a pre-workout? You mean some bullshit that you're sold at the gym? That's not good for you. It's not good for you. You should take water and your ketogens, or you should take electrolytes. It needs to be very clear that you take electrolytes so that your body has the right core minerals for the workout. Don't take things that you don't understand what they are, right? It's very important that we're very clear what we're putting into our body. It's our responsibility. Okay? Was there any question? No questions? Okay, thank you very much for being here and for your participation. Thank you very much.